Hello and welcome to the online section of EL 416, Integrating Literacy Strategies. Thanks for joining me for class this semester. I'm glad to get the chance to work with some former Phase 1 students and excited to meet those of you who will soon enter Phase 1. So to kick off the course, today's screencast in PowerPoint will cover quite a bit. Each class period will contain one of these screencasts to accompany the PowerPoint slides and the readings. These are important to watch because I elaborate on the content, I introduce projects, and I extend on those directions, and then I also provide information that should help you be successful in class. Typically, these screencasts are no longer than 15 minutes, which is, keep in mind, considerably shorter than attending a 2-hour class, although this first video may be slightly longer because of its introductory nature. So, on today's agenda, we'll have a quick welcome. I'll discuss some of the initial course information, such as getting started, the class syllabus and Canvas, and then we'll transition into Class 1 information and take a look at the Class 1 overview, your first assignment, and the readings, as well as your reading quiz. Finally, we will wrap up today with what I call a strategy spotlight. And this is a general content area strategy to add to your repertoire that can be used across grade levels and content areas. So let's get started. So for those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Dr. Lichtai. We pronounce my last name in 2 syllables and without the G sound on the end, so just Lichtai. I primarily teach undergraduate courses in secondary education, but I also teach sections of this class and then some graduate courses in technology and research. So just a little bit about my background. I am a former 7th and 8th grade language arts teacher. I taught at Fort Riley Middle School, which is a non-DoD Department of Defense school on an Army post located a few miles southwest of Manhattan. When I was there, I coached track and cross country, and I was an extracurricular sponsor of K's. And for those of you who have already had me in class, you know that I love memes and punny jokes, so don't be surprised when you see them appear in here. In fact, I have a new one fresh from Laffy Taffy to share with you today. What is at the bottom of the ocean and shakes? A nervous wreck. Okay, before we get too deep into content though, I wanted to take a moment and ask you to please add your profile picture to Canvas if you haven't done so already. This should only take about 60 seconds unless you're very picky about pictures, but it helps put a face to a name. And let me know if you don't know how to do this. Alright, let's jump into course information now. If you haven't already, please take a moment and look at the information in the Getting Started module. The first document you should see is this Getting Started page. It's a fast read, but it does provide context for the class. The other page is the syllabus, and we're going to discuss that in just a moment. The number one issue that most undergraduates have when taking online classes is keeping track of due dates. I cannot emphasize enough, find a system to remember what is due and when. I've tried very hard to keep a consistent schedule with routine due dates throughout this class to help you, but I won't be standing in the doorway reminding you to bring your homework the next time I see you. So, keep track of it yourself. You can do it. I believe in you. Okay, let's talk about the syllabus next. And if you need to, pause this screencast and pull up the syllabus in another window so that you can follow along with me during the next few slides. Looking at the syllabus, you'll see that page 1 has traditional but important information. You'll find my contact information, the course description, and that's the same that's in the course catalog. The required text, which we will use, so hopefully you purchased it when I sent that last email. And if you haven't, please buy the digital copy right now. And we'll also be having supplemental text. We will use the supplemental text quite a bit, but I have digital copies and you do not need to purchase those. Page 2 includes technical requirements. I have that you'll need a computer and internet, but you will also need a mic and a webcam, and the ones that are built into most computers is fine. Next we come to expectations. The big 3 are to log in frequently, and this hits on the problem that I mentioned earlier, that students who struggle are the ones who miss due dates and announcements. Number 2, be active and respectful. This takes much more work in an online class because, unlike an in-person class, I can't simply observe you to see if you're engaged or not. You actually have to participate and demonstrate interaction. And also, sarcasm isn't easily conveyed in typed text. I struggle with this one, which is why you will probably see a lot of smiley faces and ha-ha-ha's typed next to the comments. And then lastly, email response. Perhaps even more importantly than during other semesters, this semester, please respond to emails in 24 business hours. We are on a tight schedule this semester. And the last part of page 2 in the syllabus are the course objectives, which I'd encourage you to read through at your own convenience. If you turn to the next page or scroll down, you'll see that the course evaluation information is near the top of page 3. These are actually very important evaluations for faculty, and they weigh heavily in our tenure and promotion, so we really do truly appreciate your feedback in those. In the middle of the page is the course structure. Again, as an online class, all assignments will be submitted electronically, and I use Canvas exclusively. When you submit assignments, I'll provide feedback in the comment box or in comment bubbles on the document itself. So for that reason, please make sure that you have your ASAP notifications set up. Those ones that notify you right away if something has been posted or commented on or submitted. Otherwise, you might miss a chance to revise until it's too late. And also, the course calendar begins on page 3. This is a heavily visited part of the syllabus, so I'm going to move over to the next slide to talk about this section. Okay, so the course calendar runs from page 3 to 5. The first column is the class number. This whole class will be finished in 4 weeks, so rather than list the content by week, we subdivide it by class, and this helps with organization. You are welcome to work ahead as the content becomes ready and I hit publish, but I only teach this class in the summer, and I've made several changes from last summer, so not all of it will be ready for you on day 1. The next column is the agenda and topic. This will give you a sense of what we're talking about during that class. The middle column is dedicated to your readings for that class. And due to the condensed version of this course, you have multiple readings each class period. Also, please note that the texts that we'll call upon are not always traditional written text. Sometimes we'll have video clips, and sometimes I'll ask you to look at a diagram or an image, but we will also have textbook chapters and articles. The next column lists your materials due for that class period, and it's followed by a column of due dates. This means that if you follow a row all the way across, you'll need to complete and upload all that material by the due date listed in the last column. And I would also like to address this last bullet point. Projects are often introduced and due within the same class, so make sure that you do not wait too long to start on the content for that class. Basically, don't procrastinate or it will catch up with you very quickly. Looking at page 5 now, I've already mentioned that everything is submitted online, and I've already told you that I give feedback in the assignment comment box. But one important piece of information you should know is that you are allowed to revise and resubmit projects once for additional points. Also, I do value meaningful collaboration. In fact, I only succeeded my first year because I had an awesome content colleague who was willing to work with me to co-develop units and projects. So for that reason, I do allow you to work in small groups on some assignments. However, if you work with peers from other content areas, it must be clear in your project how you've made connections to all the represented disciplines. Also, it's important to note that late assignments are generally not accepted, so pay attention to due dates, read my feedback, resubmit if needed, and then leave this class with an A. Speaking of leaving class with an A, I do follow the Phase 1 grading scale here, which means that you need a 92% for a baseline A. The complete grading scale and information about taking a course incomplete, receiving special accommodations, and the academic dishonesty policy can be found on page 6 of the syllabus. The only information on page 7 is our Teachers College Conceptual Framework, which you can peruse in your free time. The last general bit of information I want to talk about before specifically discussing course content is how I've organized Canvas. Pretty much all of the course materials are housed sequentially in the modules. So begin with the Getting Started and the Class 1 modules and then progress in order from there. And there are some prerequisites in the modules, so if you find that you can't access information in the following module, it's probably because you've not clicked on and opened and interacted with all the required content from the previous module. Everybody wants to check their grade periodically, and we'll use discussion boards a few times, so if you don't know how to access either of those, please let me know. Also, I use a PC at work and at home, so please submit all projects as Word or PDF files. Please don't use Pages. There are also some projects that have rubrics associated with them, and they align with the project direction guidelines that you'll find in the modules. So to see those, you'll need to go into an assignment, pull down from the gear, and then select rubric if that project has one. Let's move now to start talking about the Class 1 information. The first item in every module is an overview page, which you should read first, which is why it's always in all caps. You can use this document as a checklist to make sure you're covering everything for each class. And the first thing you need to do, your first assignment, is a version of the autobiography introduction that you'll do for Phase 1, or that you did for Phase 1. You're going to make an introductory infographic that contains your name, content area, and grade level, as well as details and pictures about yourself as an individual and a future teacher. You'll upload this to a discussion board with a brief description so that it can be viewed by other people in the class, and then you need to respond to at least one peer. And the assignment guidelines are here as well as in the module. This is just a screenshot of how you can add your finished product to the discussion board. If you're providing a link, please make sure you have shared your public link and not the editing link, or else we won't be able to see it. To know if you have done it correctly, copy your link, log out of your account, paste the link in the URL bar, and then see if it takes you to a viewable project. You do have one reading for today's class, and it's just a short supplemental reading, which simultaneously gives you introductory content about the course while also providing more time for your Buell textbook to arrive if you ordered it a little bit late. In this course, we're going to expand your definition of literacy and what it means to be literate. And I'll show you how all teachers working together to teach literacy concepts makes us better teachers and provides greater assistance to students. Smigorski, and other researchers actually, explain that literacy is multifaceted, and, as we'll see in our future readings, there are actually literacies. Yes, plural, literacies. In the section you're reading for today, Smigorski will follow a major study and discuss its key findings, including implications for practice and policy recommendations. In all my online classes, I utilize a flipped learning practice of incorporating reading quizzes. In a flipped learning environment, students get factual information outside of class, and then they use class time to apply what they've learned with their teacher close by to support them. In between the digital learning and the application in class is typically a brief quiz. Because the content will be expanded on in class, or for our particular class, through the projects and the discussion boards, the quizzes contain what we call right there questions, the questions that you can just flip to directly from the readings, and you can find them exactly as they appear. And this practice has two purposes. Number one, highlight key information to students. So if you miss a key question, then that means that you're lacking foundational knowledge for the rest of the lesson, and then I as the teacher would need to scaffold that. And number two, hold students accountable so that they're able to participate meaningfully with their peers when they arrive in the classroom. So I follow this same model. My video screencasts and your readings are the flipped portion of the lesson. And then the projects and the discussion boards are the application portion of class. And then these short reading quizzes are the piece that tie those two things together. Now we get to the section of the PowerPoint that covers a general strategy that can be used across grade levels and content areas. All of the strategies that I'll present here come from Saravello's The Reading Strategies book. Today's strategy is called Challenge Questions, and it involves asking questions of each other, like in a discussion or a Socratic circle, and the characters in a book. And this can be used with any genre of text. So a character can be the author, it can be an expert featured in an NPR interview, it can be a professional athlete who gives a press conference that was recorded and published to YouTube. So there are lots of different text types, and the phrase characters is very broad. So to complete the strategy, students would view a text, again, very broad, then pose a question to a peer, if you're having a discussion, or someone in the text that would require deep thinking and justification of their response. If the students are struggling to think of a deep question, Saravello has provided some prompts to get them started. I realize that this text is small, so if you would like to read more about this strategy, head over to the PowerPoint file in the modules and then zoom in on this slide. Well, that is all for this first class period, and look at that! I beat my 15-minute time! Woohoo! If you have any questions about this class, the syllabus, the projects, or really anything at all, please reach out. My contact information is here at the bottom as well as in the syllabus. And thanks again for joining me. I'm really excited to work with all of you.